It's here. Something strange is happening after the strawberry full moon. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was exact, like the quiet moment between lightning and thunder. It didn't come to calm you down. It came to set the stage. Because now, just as the moon's energy begins to settle into your system, the sun is about to shift into Gemini. And when it does, the fog begins to lift. You might have felt it building already. That mental buzz, that electric curiosity, that feeling like something is trying to click into place but hasn't quite said what it is yet. Last week your soul was on fire, your dreams were louder, your emotions all over the place. You were drenched in intuition, saturated with feelings you couldn't fully explain. But you weren't meant to explain it then. You were meant to feel it. Because the moon speaks in emotion. But Gemini speaks in language. And starting tomorrow, your mind is about to catch up to what your spirit already knows. If you're here, you're not watching this by accident. The universe doesn't do random when it comes to timing. This is alignment. You are part of a moment that bridges two worlds, the emotional realm of the full moon and the mental clarity of the Gemini sun. One stirred your subconscious, the other is about to help you decode it, but only if you listen. Before we go deeper, hit like, subscribe, and comment the number 77 if this is already resonating. It may seem small, but that action creates an energetic anchor, a timestamp in the frequency of your transformation. You're not just watching this, you're marking it. You're letting the universe know, I received the message, I'm paying attention. And that simple choice opens the next layer. Now let's begin. Tomorrow, June 15th, the sun enters Gemini. And that one event can feel like flipping a light switch in the middle of a maze. Suddenly, what was confusing starts to form patterns. What was hidden in the emotional tides of last week's full moon begins to reveal its message. Not as a feeling, but as a sentence, a knowing, a download, one you can actually name. Gemini is ruled by Mercury, the planet of communication, thought, and perception. So when the sun passes through Gemini, it doesn't just light up your personality. It illuminates your mind. It brings clarity where there was only fog. But here's the deeper part no one talks about. Gemini isn't just about thinking more. It's about making sense of things you couldn't before. This is the season of mental alignment, and that means all the emotional, intuitive, symbolic chaos you've been swimming in since the full moon. Now it's time to sort it, to understand it, to know what it was trying to say. Have you noticed that certain words keep finding you? A phrase in a dream, a line in a movie, a comment that hits a little too deeply. You scroll past a post and think, wait, was that meant for me? That's not coincidence. That's the sun in Gemini beginning to speak through symbols, preparing you to decode something essential. You may ask, but what if I still don't know what I'm supposed to do? What if everything still feels blurry? That's exactly why this shift is so powerful, because the purpose of Gemini is not to force a decision, but to create awareness. You don't have to act yet, but you do have to listen. This energy won't push you into motion. It will flood you with clues. And if you're too distracted or too afraid to interpret them, you'll miss the most important part, the one thing this portal is trying to hand you. There's something specific being offered to you during this Gemini activation, something that, if spoken, will become real, but if buried, will dissolve before you ever realize its power. And it isn't general, it's tailored. It's the bridge between what you felt under the moon and what you're about to manifest in the physical world. One moment, one message, one sentence that will change how you see everything you've been going through. Stay with me, because we're going to uncover exactly what that is. You've already felt it. It's been knocking at the edge of your awareness. But by the time we reach the end of this, you'll know how to pull it forward, how to speak it, and how to use it. Because this Gemini shift isn't just mental, it's magnetic. What you say next, pulls your future in. So if this is already stirring something in you, don't just scroll on. Like, subscribe, comment 77, not for me, for you. You need to claim this moment, not just consume it. Because what comes next isn't just information. It's the activation you've been waiting for, and everything begins the moment you recognize the power of your own voice. Chapter 1. The emotional storm is over. Now comes the air. Now that the emotional tide of the full moon has begun to recede, something quieter, but no less powerful, is rising within you. The storm has passed, but the winds are still moving. Only now they're not carrying waves of feeling, they're carrying clarity. The strawberry full moon was water. It didn't just shine, it soaked. It poured emotional downloads into your system, into your dreams, into your body. It flooded your nervous system with intuition, memory, ache, and longing. It didn't care if you were ready. It just pushed everything to the surface. But now, as the moonlight dims and the sun moves into Gemini, the element changes. Water yields to air. Emotion gives way to thought. And here's where it gets interesting. Air doesn't crash, it carries. The sun in Gemini lifts you out of emotional saturation and places you into a space where you can breathe again. You're not supposed to feel heavy anymore. You're supposed to feel open, curious, a little mentally unsettled perhaps, but that's only because your mind is catching up to what your heart already went through last week. You might be asking yourself, why do I suddenly feel more alert, more scattered, even slightly overstimulated? That's not a sign you're losing focus. It's a sign your consciousness is reorganizing. Like leaves in the wind, your thoughts are being lifted, turned over, repositioned so they can finally fall into the right places. Gemini is the sign of pattern recognition. It doesn't drown in feeling, it connects the dots. If you felt like your life was one big abstract painting lately, this energy is about to turn it into a map. What once felt like chaos is about to start showing you its architecture. The thoughts rising now are not distractions, they're code. And your system is trying to scan, match, and arrange them into something that actually makes sense. Here's a metaphor to hold on to. Imagine your mind is a shattered mirror. Last week's full moon broke it open so you could see all the pieces. But now, Gemini is the glue. It doesn't hide the cracks, it doesn't erase the break, but it starts putting the fragments back together, giving your reflection shape again. This time with a sharper edge and clearer purpose. You might also feel a strange internal duality, a split. One part of you wants to think deeply. The other wants to move fast, talk, create, question. That's Gemini too. It's ruled by the twins, not because it's indecisive, but because it holds both sides of a truth at once. The part of you that's still feeling, and the part that's finally ready to understand. The part that remembers the ache, and the part that can now name why it was there. This is the beginning of your translation phase, and here's why that's so crucial. The universe doesn't just respond to feeling, it responds to clarity. It responds to what you declare. That's why this shift matters, because the emotional data that poured in under the full moon is now being processed through your mental filter. Gemini allows you to ask better questions, to think in new ways, to revisit the stories you've been telling yourself and suddenly realize, wait, that part was never even true. The energy you're stepping into is light, but it's not shallow. It's fast, but not directionless. It's curious, but that curiosity is sacred, because when you start asking the right questions, the right answers start arriving. So if you felt like your thoughts are too fast, your mind too full, or your attention scattered, good. That's the system realigning. That's air replacing water. That's clarity being born from chaos. And very soon, the thoughts that seem random now will start pointing to something specific. Something that's already forming in your field, a message, a truth, a phrase you were always meant to say. And when that moment arrives, you'll know exactly what to do with it. Chapter 2. You're not confused. You're receiving too much clarity at once. As this Gemini energy begins to swirl around you, you may find yourself feeling strangely overloaded, not emotionally, but mentally. The emotional fog may have lifted, but now it's like stepping into a room where every radio is playing at once. Ideas, insights, fragments of conversations, dreams that linger with a clarity they've never had before. It's not chaos. It's clarity, just delivered all at once. And your nervous system is doing its best to keep up. You're not confused. You're not broken. You're not too much in your head. What's happening is that your perception has expanded. The full moon cracked open your emotional bandwidth, and now the sun in Gemini is flooding it with interpretation. This is the zodiac's information highway, and right now you're receiving downloads faster than your body can process. Maybe you've caught yourself talking faster, thinking in loops, even jumping between ideas that seem unrelated. That's not distraction. It's your system trying to categorize meaning. The brain is doing what it does best, pattern recognition, but it's overwhelmed because the input is energetic, emotional, verbal, visual, symbolic, all at once. You might ask, why does everything feel so fast? Why am I hearing so many thoughts, feeling so many truths, but still unsure of what they're telling me? It's because there's one central truth trying to rise to the surface, and it's buried beneath the volume. That's the twist. Your higher self has been trying to say something to you, clearly, repeatedly, almost urgently. But instead of shouting it, it's disguising it as repetition. A quote you keep hearing, a dream that keeps replaying, a phrase someone said offhand that won't leave your mind. These aren't coincidences, they're breadcrumbs. The Gemini current doesn't hand you a scroll of revelation. It scatters the pieces and dares you to see the pattern. And somewhere within that pattern is a sentence, a knowing, a truth you are meant to say out loud. It might be about who you are, who you're becoming, a relationship you're clinging to, or a path you need to claim. But whatever it is, it's not new. You already know it. It's been sitting inside your chest for months, maybe even years. But until now, the frequency wasn't right. The words weren't ready. That's what this moment is about. Not finding a brand new truth, but finally translating the one you've been carrying. Your system is trying to speak it. Your dreams are trying to illustrate it. Your life is rearranging around it. And when you finally say it, out loud, even if only to yourself, it will click. A new layer of clarity will lock into place. Not just intellectually, but physically, like something ancient finally exhaled through your voice. So if everything feels too much, good. That means you're on the edge of the message. You're not drowning in confusion. You're surrounded by truth. And soon, one sentence will rise above the noise. One sentence that explains everything. And we'll come back to that, because that sentence is more important than you think. Chapter 3. Thoughts are becoming reality. Faster, so watch what you say. Now that your thoughts are beginning to sharpen and align, something else starts to shift. The speed of manifestation. You may have already noticed it. You think about someone and they text. You speak a concern out loud and suddenly it shows up in your reality, sometimes in the most unexpected way. That's not luck. That's not coincidence. That's Gemini energy under solar light, and it's activating your words as spells. Gemini is ruled by Mercury, the planet of communication, cognition, and language. It governs not just what you say, but how you think before you say it. And when the sun, our center of power, moves through Gemini, it acts like a spotlight on your mental field. Suddenly, the thoughts you usually let slide become influential. The words you speak carelessly, they echo. The beliefs you express without thinking, they shape your atmosphere. This is the power of vibrational speech. You might ask, how can something as small as a sentence really affect my life? But let's break it down. Every word you speak carries a frequency. Say, "I'm tired," enough times, and your body will start aligning with that vibration. Say, "I'm figuring it out," and suddenly your brain begins looking for solutions instead of obstacles. It's not magic. It's neuroplasticity meets energy. Your speech becomes the blueprint your reality tries to follow. Think of your voice as a tuning fork. Whatever tone you strike, your environment will eventually try to match it. Gemini isn't just about talking more. It's about becoming aware that talking is creation. That means careless words have a cost, and conscious language has power. Have you noticed lately that certain things you speak about happen faster than they used to? Maybe you made an offhand comment about needing a break, and your plans were suddenly cancelled. Maybe you kept saying you were stuck, and now you feel even more blocked. It's not punishment, it's feedback. Your field is more sensitive now, your thoughts are electric, and your words are the switch. That's why this moment demands a ritual of intention. Before you speak, ask, "Is this what I want to experience?" Before you joke about being lost, exhausted, or unlucky, ask if that's a story you want to live. Because under this Gemini sun, stories are becoming scripts. And this applies inward too. Your inner dialogue matters. The way you narrate your day, the way you describe yourself silently when no one is listening. Gemini reminds us that what we whisper to ourselves becomes the scaffolding of our beliefs. And those beliefs, they begin to magnetize the people, the conversations, and the circumstances that match them. This isn't pressure, this is opportunity. Gemini gives you the chance to edit your life by editing your language. You're the narrator now. Choose words that build you. Choose phrases that point where you want to go, not where you're afraid to end up. Because when you speak with clarity, the universe listens with precision. And what comes back is exactly what you asked for. Chapter 4. The right words will find you, even if you don't go looking. As your words begin shaping reality, you'll notice something else happening. Words are also starting to find you. Not just the ones you speak, but the ones that seem to appear from nowhere and hit you like they were always meant for you. This is not coincidence. It's the Gemini current opening what can only be described as a telepathic corridor between your conscious mind and the truth you've been orbiting for far too long. You know the feeling. You're listening to a song, and suddenly one lyric freezes you in place. A phrase in a stranger's story feels like it was plucked from your own soul. You scroll through your feed, and a post seems to say exactly what you didn't know you needed to hear. That's not just resonance, that's reception. Your system is tuned in, and the universe is responding through the only medium Gemini knows best: language. You might be asking, but how do I know what's a real message and what's just noise? And the answer is sensation. Real messages carry a weight, a click. They land in the body, not just the mind. They might bring tears, goosebumps, or that eerie sense of déjà vu, like your future self already knew this sentence would arrive. These are the whispers that bypass logic and speak in recognition. And they're not random. There's a reason so many signs are arriving through words right now. The Gemini sun is not just increasing your thoughts, it's activating your mental magnetism. That means the ideas, sentences, even memories showing up in your space are not happening to you. They're being pulled through you, like a thread being drawn toward a needlepoint. Your consciousness is asking a question. And now, through songs, stories, captions, and passing remarks, the answers are arriving. Think of this phase like walking through a forest of echoes. Not everything is meant to stop you, but some words will. Some will freeze you mid-thought. Others will feel like they rearranged your whole timeline in an instant. That's your signal. Because somewhere in this flood of language is a single sentence meant only for you. A specific download that will change the way you understand what's been happening in your life, not in a vague, abstract way, but in a precise, undeniable flash of recognition. Gemini doesn't always deliver truth directly. It scatters clues. It wraps messages inside jokes, metaphors, poems, and accidental slips of the tongue. But it also makes sure that when the right words arrive, they feel like a doorway swinging open. And once you hear them, you don't go back. You shift. You respond. So if your thoughts feel different now, more layered, more narrative, more symbol-heavy, it's because your mind is operating at higher reception. You're not overthinking, you're decoding, and the message that's meant to reach you is already circling. It doesn't need you to chase it, just to recognize it when it arrives. And soon, it will. And when it does, it won't just clarify your thoughts. It will unlock the sentence your soul has been waiting to speak. Chapter 5. You're not overthinking, you're filtering reality. Now that words are finding you in the most unexpected places, something else may be rising just beneath the surface. That constant mental hum, the swirl of ideas, the replaying of conversations, the analyzing of dreams and patterns that won't stop echoing in your head. At first glance, it might feel like you're spiraling, like you're overthinking everything. But let's reframe that, because under the influence of Gemini, you're not losing control of your mind. You're fine-tuning it. Gemini isn't just mental, it's mercifully mental. Its job isn't to overwhelm you, it's to organize you. The racing thoughts you're having, that's your internal processor running diagnostic checks at lightning speed. You're not overthinking, you're filtering. You're sorting through the sea of symbols that the full moon unearthed, deciding what's real, what's projection, what's yours, and what never belonged in your story to begin with. You might be asking, but why is my head so loud? Why can't I quiet it like I used to? That's because this energy isn't asking you to be quiet. It's asking you to listen more deeply. Gemini turns up the volume not to confuse you, but to draw your attention to what's rising above the noise. Think of your mind right now like a radio tower with dozens of channels playing. Most of them are just static, but one is coming through clearer, sharper, more persistent than the rest, and that's the one you need to tune into. Here's a metaphor. Imagine you're underwater and you can hear music playing from the surface. At first, it's just muffled tones, but the closer you rise toward air, the clearer the melody becomes. Your thoughts are that ocean. Your clarity is at the surface, and you don't need to silence the ocean. You just need to rise through it slowly. Gemini pushes us to discern not just what we think, but why we think it. Is that fear really yours, or was it passed down? Is that idea truly intuitive, or is it dressed in distraction? These questions are not meant to cause doubt, they're meant to sharpen discernment. That's Gemini's highest gift, not knowing more, but knowing better. So if your mind feels busy, let it be busy, just not reactive. Let it run, but not race. Create space between thoughts. Let the ones with real weight rise to the top, and you'll begin to notice something powerful. The same thought keeps returning. The same knowing keeps surfacing. The same word, sentence, phrase keeps tapping your consciousness. That's the signal. That's the message. And once you can identify it in the chaos, you'll realize this was never anxiety. It was alignment trying to make itself known. So slow down. Observe. Don't shut it down. Sort it out. Because somewhere in this flood of thoughts is your next truth. And it's almost ready to speak. Chapter 6. Synchronicities are becoming verbal. Pay attention to what's repeating. As your mind begins filtering truth from illusion, something subtle yet powerful starts taking shape all around you. Repetition, not just in thoughts, but in words, phrases, conversations. You hear the same sentence from two different people. A word that meant nothing to you last week now keeps appearing everywhere. Songs, posts, dreams, even your own inner monologue. And if it's happening more than once, it's not just coincidence, it's instruction. Gemini, ruled by Mercury, governs not only thought, but pattern. This is the sign of linguistic rhythm, symbolic sequence, and divine echoes. It's where the universe stops speaking in thunderclaps and starts whispering in verbal breadcrumbs. When the sun moves through Gemini, it highlights those hidden threads. It weaves meaning through your ordinary conversations and challenges you to notice what's repeating. Because what's repeating is revealing. You might be asking, but what does it mean if I keep hearing the same thing over and over? The answer is layered. Repetition is the universe's way of saying you didn't hear it the first time, or if you did, you didn't act. So it shows up again from a different mouth, through a different source, not to annoy you, not to pressure you, but to confirm that this message is for you. Imagine walking through a hallway and hearing the same word echoed in every room. Eventually, you stop and turn. That's what Gemini is doing. It's creating a hallway of echoes until you finally turn and say, "Okay, I'm listening." It could be a phrase like, "It's time," or "Speak your truth," or something even more personal, like a name or an old belief you thought you'd left behind. It could be an old conversation you can't stop replaying, or a future one you haven't had yet, but already feel forming. These repeated phrases act like verbal symbols, and when you acknowledge them, something energetic unlocks. This is your Gemini ritual. Track the words that keep circling you. Not everything deserves your attention, but what repeats does. Write them down. Sit with them. Ask, what is this trying to show me? Because once you acknowledge the pattern, the next part of the message reveals itself. It's like a door you didn't know existed, waiting for you to notice the handle. And once you do, what was once noise becomes navigation. The sentence you keep hearing becomes your starting line. The echo becomes the entrance, and everything changes after that. Chapter 7. The message has been hidden in your voice. Now it's time to speak it. Everything we've explored, every pattern, every repetition, every flash of clarity has been building toward this. The message wasn't just circling you. It wasn't just showing up in dreams or slipping into conversations. It's been inside you the entire time, waiting for your voice to become the key. During the full moon, your body received a feeling, not a thought, a sensation, a pressure, a knowing that pulsed beneath your skin and asked for silence. You were meant to feel it fully before you could name it. But now, with the sun in Gemini, something shifts. The silence turns into syllables. The ache becomes a phrase. Your mouth becomes the portal for integration. This is what we hinted at earlier, the hidden activation, the thing most people overlook. Gemini isn't just a sign of words. It's the zodiac's translator. It's the space where abstract emotion gets turned into truth. You can speak out loud, and not just any truth, the one you've been afraid to say. The one you've whispered in your head, but never dared give form. The one that feels so real it shakes something in your bones. You might be asking, why does it matter if I say it out loud? I already know it inside. But here's the truth. Knowing is not the same as declaring. Thoughts stay soft. But words crystallize energy. They bring structure to the formless. They open locks in your subconscious and send signals through your energetic field that say, this is real now. It could be a sentence as simple as, I'm ready, or as raw as, I'm not waiting anymore. It might be, this isn't mine to carry, or I choose to begin. It doesn't have to be poetic, it just has to be honest. The sun in Gemini gives you the power to speak something into movement. Imagine holding a key in your hand, turning it over again and again, never realizing it only works when used out loud. That's what this moment is. That phrase in your mind, the one that won't leave, the one you keep writing down or catching in your thoughts. It's not just a sentence, it's a frequency. And the moment you speak it, everything clicks into place. Because Gemini doesn't just give you understanding, it gives you voice. And once you speak this truth, you're not just processing the moon's energy anymore. You're commanding it. You're sealing it into form. You're saying, I accept